This one's a little difficult on many levels. For one thing, I am dead tired, and it is nearly 3 a.m. You might ask yourself, why record at 3 a.m.? Well, it's actually relatively quiet, so it actually makes recording a lot easier because, like many people, I have to live with some other people because rent is incredibly high up north. Beyond all that, I was actually supposed to get home earlier, and I'll do an update on this soon but in terms of my situation with health, the channel, so on and so forth. But the basic gist is that things are getting slightly better. And I was going to say in a video that's going to come up saying, well, barring like a catastrophe, I should be able to, and it basically happened. So it was actually a clear day, and I was going to get home fairly quickly and easily, right? Because it was taking a long time just to upload some videos for the channel members, and I was like, oh man, okay, I'm going to have to push off the videos for tomorrow. And then what happened was a massive, and I do mean massive, rainfall, which stalled me going home, which forced me to sleep later, which forced me to do this now. Okay, but let us get to the Nora portion, and I will begin with half apology, half fact correct. So I did a video calling out the silence of Nora and Aaron. I will correct myself at two levels, although the one level, I don't need to really say too much to apologize because Nora was getting very confused and rewriting history. So on the one hand, she had a post up on her channel basically amplifying the video by, well, certain people detailing the Scoville brothers and their criminality. Okay, that's good. And being fair, checking the date, I should have been more careful there. So she did put out a post, so she hasn't remained totally silent. Now, she did a recent video. Most of the video was not about the Scovilles, but she did have a section where she addressed the controversy, although to put it mildly, it didn't really add up. I mean, I understand what she's trying to say, but her theories and arguments, as always, are very confusing because if they're right, she's wrong, and if she's wrong, they're right. It's like one of those usual things. So it's like, I don't think you thought through the implications of what you said. And again, I get it. Like, and again, I have had some fun with the quote radical feminists who put some pretty crazy stuff out there. Now, I am not preemptively against anything that is radical, right or left. Sometimes the right-wing radicals are correct. Sometimes the left-wing radicals are correct. But it's wrong to be like, well, radicals are correct because they're radicals. That's just silly. Sometimes radicals can be very wrong. And it's also kind of weird because Nora is not really a radical. I mean, the best I can figure out is really, I have to say, most accurately, she's kind of a conservative liberal. Like, she talks a good game about women's, but really, when we get down to it, she just basically wants more generous welfare state. That's the best I can do. It just seems she wants a pumped up version of social democracy. And that's the thing with Nora. She just doesn't know really the basics. Watching her is very frustrating as someone who has done way more research on almost every single subject she touches upon. Welfare state, feminism, mind control, propaganda, Nazism. You go through the list. I've done things at a much deeper level on almost every single level. So it's out of like, it's very frustrating. So anyway, she devoted like an hour and a half going through really basic material, and some of it was wrong, or to put it mildly, it's not exactly entirely correct. So she just did a big splurge on Bernays, the origins of propaganda and public relations, and also the influence of basically this right-wing thinking on fascism and so on and so forth. And you think, well, how are the Scoville brothers connected? Oh, well, the bridge is very bizarre and it has a dark, Tony flair. I'm not like, huh? What? So, and I'm, again, it might seem like I'm just making fun of her again. No, I'm like trying to piece it together. I'm like, I understand what she's trying to say, but really it didn't even add up. In fact, at one point it was just so bizarre. So I guess the connection is something like this. She says there's a deeply misogynistic culture out there. Okay, well, I'm a man, so preemptively I'm going to be like, okay, where are we going with this? Now, again, I think you can be sort of open-minded enough to be like, yes, clearly, like, right. I mean, I think feminists, to put it mildly, exaggerate. It depends on the context. You got to give me more details. Whether this section of social life is, quote, sexist. Some cases it is. In some cases, like, well, you got to look at the data more carefully. Obviously, you have to be careful in terms of what we're talking about, but I think we can concede on several different levels. Yes, obviously, there's a lot of sexism out there. Now, let's be careful not to exaggerate the amount, and that's where we're going to get to because it was really strange. So she says that she's been the victim. Okay, how is she the victim? Well, she did a Mike Rinder series, and instead of getting praised, she was getting attacked, and that's evidence of sexism. I know people are here for the Scoville, so we'll get to it. I just want to be fair to her. Okay, so people pushed back on her Mike Rinder series and went after her. Ergo, sexism. Ergo, the Matrix. Ergo, the propaganda has trained our brains to be sexist. And the evidence is Zero Dark Nora is not getting more praise. Well, there are several problems with this. For one thing, a lot of people liked her Mike Rinder series. And you know, the fans of that series were men. If I remember correctly, when she did this very, very long rant against Rinder, Aaron Smith-Levin was in the chat supporting her. And Aaron, to put it mildly, and here I think we need to be careful, but I think, because I've actually defended Aaron against the charge of being a sexist. I think he is. Is he an extreme sexist? No. Is he sort of in the middle? Is he a misogynist? Yeah, probably, but I don't think he gets up every day just wanting to hate women. But is he sort of in the moderate that he has, to put it mildly, a preference for men and male power? Yeah, I think he's in the middle. I think he just preemptively has a very pro-male brain. And if he has a pro-female perspective challenging him, he gets really angry really quickly. But that's my opinion. And again, that's another part she keeps ducking, is that one of her major supporters for years and years was Aaron, who was a man. Right? You go through their videos in the past, he was boosting her. Other men were boosting her, like Tony Ortega. So it just didn't add up. So more evidence of the sexism was Zero Dark Tony. You see a guy with this microphone, cigar smoking, and you believe him. You believe him because he's very convincing, because it feels very emotive to you, because you're part of the masses. You don't think. Well, it didn't make a whole lot of sense that we believe the man, Zero Dark Tony, because he has a big microphone, and he's got a big cigar, and there you are, and he's got sunglasses. Like, Nora literally looks like Zero Dark Tony. If you look at their setup, she's got a big microphone, she's got glasses. Huh? What? So people believed Zero Dark Tony because he was a man. That's more sexism. Even though Zero Dark Tony criticized Scoville, criticized Mike Rinder, and criticized Aaron. So Zero Dark Tony is secretly a woman? It made no sense. Now, it's true today, and again, I want to be careful because I want to protect the anonymity of some people. You could say the critics of the Scoville brothers are mixed, right? You have men and you have women. But it is undeniable that the early critics, Goot, Zero Dark Tony, and Knife Hoarder, or Kernoff, as we lovingly call him here, are men, right? The early critics of Scoville and the Scoville brothers were men, not women. Now, you know who was not criticizing Scoville? Who was not criticizing Scoville? Let's be very clear. In the early days, Nora. And Nora's a woman. So, was Nora herself the victim of the sexist training? She says, she does, to be fair, concede that a little bit, saying, yes, I too were trained. I've been trained also to be a little sexist. Guys, I admit, I failed. Okay. Right. But now she's overcoming the sexism, attacking Rinder, and attacking Aaron. Okay. And now she is willing to condemn Scoville. But again, it's just very basic. So she's like, oh, we're getting into Bernays. That is very basic. And now she says, yeah, the Scoville brothers, they're criminals. Thank you, Nora. Yeah, and again, it's YouTube. We got to say allegedly. Thank you. That is all very basic. The advanced people, we reached that position about at least a year or at least half a year ago, right? Some people like Knife Hoarder were really advanced. They got to that point 1.5 years ago. But now you're joining us and saying, hey, I think the Scovilles, they're criminals. Thank you, Nora. Thank you, Nora. And she's also radically misdescribing things. Like, she's like, too many videos there are criticizing the Reese. I don't understand this. The Scovilles are getting off lightly. What? What are you talking about? The vast majority of videos I've seen are very critical of Scoville. They're a little critical of Reese. And you know why? Because she was right there. She was right there. She was literally right next to them. She was right in the middle of them. Right? She was constantly in the videos with them. You're making it seem as if Reese just disappeared like a ghost. Right? So apparently we are dealing with the sexism of sense perception. Now, if you want to be a serious person, right, like Chomsky or Foucault, or even, right, the Matrix and the makers of the Matrix, that is fine. We can get into that. Like, there is something to be said about looking at all these patterns, all these structures at a deep level, right, the way it does metaphysically, even at the perceptual level, affect us. There are deep arguments for that, and you want to be careful with those arguments. That's fine, but I could not understand what the Red Badger here was saying. She was like, it was all messed up and all, it just didn't make sense at the basic level. Knife Hoarder's a man. The man criticized these men, the Scoville brothers. From her radical, I don't even call it feminism. This is just confused stupidity, but she keeps calling it feminism. So, this is your feminist problem, not my feminist problem. So how does her feminism explain that? Right? Because either Knof is secretly a woman or the Scoville brothers are secretly women. Because why would we get criticism for all these men? Like, I'm a man. Why am I criticizing the Scoville? I criticized the Scovilles way before she did. How does that work if we're all deeply sexist? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, if you want to say we're all being mind controlled at a deep level, okay, that's fine, but then how did you escape the Matrix? And her answer is, I really worked hard to break free of the Render Aaron cult. But no, you didn't, because you joined Aaron as his lapdog for a long... It just doesn't make any sense. Okay, but again, I will apologize. I should have been more accurate. She did put out a post, and yes, some of her video did treat the controversy, although she's still getting things wrong, and it's like, huh? You're completely misdescribing things. And also, once again, you're not giving credit where credit is due. Maybe thank Knife Hoarder for being an early critic. Maybe thank Goot for being an early critic. Maybe thank some of the other people who were early critics. And as far as I know, most of them were men. Maybe just get the basic facts right. But it's like, no. We're just going to leave. Guys, you've all been mind controlled by the sexist matrix. But I can help you. At a very low cost of channel membership, I will free you from the sexist matrix. So spaketh Zero Dark Nora. Otherwise, we're all caught in the Zero Dark Tony sexist matrix because we don't believe her. Alrighty then. Well, there we are. Well, if she's going to play this big game of the Matrix and mind control, she's going to have to do a little deeper thinking and reading than this, because it was pretty basic and pretty pathetic, and she was even getting the basics wrong, in my humble opinion.